Video 2. What did Hal Hoole know about the champions? He knew something about how they would align and about how that they would see cue ball object ball relationships. You know, he didn't make that statement for nothing, that the top 200 players in the world were using his system. In video 1, for this particular shot, we talked about the home base line as being established from inside quarter to the core of the object ball. This line is just as natural as it can be. You can't make it any more natural. Well, this particular line for this particular shot has a specific perception that can be defined. And that's the focus of this video, the perception line. So the perception line for these thick type shots runs from the center of the cue ball to the quarter line. In other words, it's just one quarter ball over. So now when I set up for this particular cue ball object ball relationship, I'm set up in a particular offset, and it is natural when you're in this particular alignment to have a particular perception that occurs from the center of the cue ball to the outer quarter of the object ball. Now, as the shot gets thinner, and once again, the quarter divisions on the object ball face directly to the cue ball, and the home base alignment for this particular setup is inside quarter to the outer quarter of the object ball. And you just can't set up any better than this. And if you shoot enough shots, that's the way you're going to set up. Your nose is not going to be behind the center of the cue ball. Your nose is going to be on the inside of center. And once again, when you're in that type of home base alignment, you're going to have a perception that occurs naturally from the center of the cue ball to the outer edge of the object ball. This particular setup is actually referred to as the center to edge perception. But that's not the only perception. We just looked at one. We're going to look at another. So you can't help but set up on this shot in this manner, and you can see that the shot looks right because you're in the right position, because you have the right perception. Now, just because you have the right perception doesn't mean that you have the shot line. Perception is just a perception. But as I stated in video 1, there's 3 or 4 perceptions that make all shots on a 2x1 table. Now there's more to it than that, but in general, I think everybody knows there's only a handful of shots on a pool table. For this next alignment, this is a cut to the right, and it's not so much of a typical cut, it's more of a thinner type cut. And the positioning that a player can get in, such as the top champions of yesteryear, would be to the inside so that a connection can be made from the inside quarter to the outer quarter of the object ball. I said outer quarter, I meant outer edge of the object ball. Now the same is true. There is a perception line that runs from the center of the cue ball to 1 quarter out in space, 1 quarter away from that line. So what I'm doing in these videos is I'm, video by video, I'm building what it was that Hal Hoole came to know about what it was that the top champions were doing. So I'm going to close out video 2 here, then we're going to move into video 3 and talk about the visual sweeps.